In Week 16 of the 2019 season, in what was otherwise a meaningless game between two of the worst teams in the NFL, the 1-14 Bengals would travel to Miami to take on the 3-11 Dolphins. In a game where there were no playoff implications for either side, this game turned out to be one of the most exciting games that I have ever seen. And not only that, this is also the game that sealed the Bengals' fate to be the worst team in the NFL by the end of the 2019 season, thus earning the rights to get LSU's Joe Burrow. Maybe I'm being a bit biased here, but I'll let you guys be the judge. Despite not playing for any playoff hopes, this game did still matter. Both teams were still at this point gunning for the #1 overall pick. It was a long shot for Miami as the Bengals had it all but wrapped up, but the chance was still there. So this game did matter and had lasting effects as to how the NFL is currently shaped out. With a loss, the Bengals would clinch the worst record in the league and earn the #1 overall pick.
You suck, you jackass.
But with a win, there was a huge possibility that the #1 overall pick would end up going to Washington. The Dolphins, on the other hand, were thought to be in tank mode after a catastrophic start to the season in 2019. It was so bad that many thought this team may go 0-16, but they would scrap together 3 wins up to this point and prove everyone wrong that this team is tanking. With a win, the Dolphins would be eliminated from a chance at the #1 overall pick, but with a loss, they'd still have a puncher's chance. What it do, ladies and gentlemen, this is Triple DS. Thank you guys so much for tuning in once again. If you guys could do me a favor, drop a like and subscribe for this. It would go a long way. I am so thankful for the support that you guys have given me thus far. Thank you guys so much. Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. But let's get on to this game, this glorious game that you probably forgot about. At the start of the game, Miami would come out on fire, bullying the Bengals to a 21-6 lead by halftime. Things would get worse for Cincy when Miami would come out of halftime and score again, giving them now a 28-6 lead. These 1-13 Bengals were getting decimated. By this point, everyone thought the game was over. After all, you've only won one game to this point. How much fire is actually in you? The Bengals were down big, and they didn't necessarily have the roster to make a comeback, right? This is when first-year head coach at the time, Zac Taylor, gets a ton of credit. Even today, heading into the 2024 season, Taylor has an ability to rally players, which results in the Bengals always fighting hard for Zac, never giving up. Late into the third quarter, the Bengals would cut the lead by scoring a touchdown, only getting 6, however, as their 2-point conversion failed. But the Dolphins, even here, would not relent. They were on a mission to prove a point. They were not as bad as a team like the Bengals, scoring another touchdown in the fourth quarter, now up 35-12 with 11 minutes left in the game. And from here, things would get crazy. Despite the odds heavily against them, the Bengals would not give up. They would drive down the field. Dalton would find Uzomah for a touchdown to cut the lead down now 35-19. For the Bengals to have a chance, not only would they need a lot of things to go right, but a lot of things to go right fast. The Bengals, with just over 6 minutes left in regulation, would give the ball back to Miami, but would catch a break in the following drive as their kicker Sanders would miss a game-sealing 47-yard field goal. That was all the motivation that these Bengals needed. So the Bengals' dim light would actually increase. In the ensuing drive, the Bengals would catch another break. On 4th and 10, Cincy needed a big play, but instead, this throw by Dalton would be intercepted. However, Eric Rowe, the player who made the pick, was also responsible for a costly holding penalty on this same play, giving the Bengals a fresh set of downs. Cincinnati would seize the opportunity and Dalton would find Boyd for the touchdown. And after a successful 2-point conversion, the lead would actually just be cut down to 8. The Bengals still had a ways to go, with only 29 seconds left at this point. No timeouts as they had used them up early in the fourth. They would have to attempt an onside kick, something that always had a low success rate. So low, in fact, that in just the year prior, of the 79 onside kicks that were attempted, only 5 were successful. That's only a 6% success rate. But miraculously, the Bengals did just that. They would get a good bounce and recover the onside kick. After a big catch by Boyd, the Bengals had one final opportunity. With the clock hitting 0, Dalton would throw the ball up in the end zone, and by some miracle, Tyler Eifert would come down with the ball. Dalton and the Bengals would not be denied, as the quarterback would run the ball in for the 2-point conversion, tying the score up in a game which the Bengals were down by 23 points just 6 game minutes prior. Overtime wasn't the most exciting of times, as both teams exchanged punts for the majority of it, but in the final drive, thanks to the worst punt of Kevin Huber's career, Miami was able to take the ball down to the Bengals' red zone and milk the clock to kick the game-winning field goal, ending what was a thriller no one saw coming. The Bengals would lock up the number 1 overall pick, and the Dolphins would win in New England the following week and finish 5-11 and earn the 5th overall pick. This is a bit of a butterfly effect, but it's crazy to think that this game, no matter how meaningless it may have seemed at that point, how big of an impact this would have changed everything. Had the Bengals pulled off this insane comeback, they actually would have been tied with Washington for the worst record. And correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but tiebreakers, I believe, go to whoever did better against divisional opponents. Am I right on that? Washington went 0-6, while the Bengals went 1-5. The Washington Redskins would have their chance at Burrow, but would they have taken him? That's a story for another day. We could go on and on with what ifs at this point. For my money, this was as exciting as football gets. Improbable odds, just enough luck, the never say die attitude, big plays, high scores. They were all there. The only thing that was missing was surface significance, meaning playoff implications, what this will mean for January football, etc., etc. These were two teams that were the bottom of the barrel, and oftentimes these will eventually be forgotten, no matter how exciting the game itself may have been. Since there was no real significance for what would be January football, it's natural that it would be forgotten. Maybe it's because I'm a Bengals fan, but this game will always stick out to me as the almost greatest comeback in NFL history.